Let's start in Sweden, late June 2026. A 600-meter freight train is moving along the main route between Gothenburg and Borås when the steel tracks beneath it simply warp out of shape, sending the massive vehicle violently off the rails. Down in Germany, the Autobahn literally bursts open. The intense heat causes the concrete slabs of a highway to expand, crack, and shatter upwards. In France, the situation becomes so severe that operators are forced to completely shut down multiple nuclear power plants to prevent a catastrophic failure. As the heat settles in, the French Prime Minister declares the highest level of national health emergency. Hospital morgues overflow as the death toll climbs. When most of us hear the word heat wave, we think of a few uncomfortable days. We assume the solution is simple: stay indoors, crank up the AC, and drink a little extra water. The European crisis of 2026 proved that extreme heat is a destructive physical force. It initiates a rapid, cascading sequence of failures across the very systems that keep modern society functioning. To understand how things broke down so quickly, we have to look at how Europe was built. The continent's roads, rails, and power grids were engineered entirely for a 20th century climate threshold, one that has now been exceeded. When materials get hot, they expand. When that heat pushes past what engineers planned for, the expansion becomes violent. That is exactly why those concrete autobahns buckled and the Swedish steel tracks contorted under the continuous sun. But the most dangerous failure happens in the power grid. As temperatures cross the 40°C mark, or about 104 Fahrenheit, everyone turns on their air conditioning at the exact same time, creating a massive, sudden spike in electrical demand. This localized AC demand pushes power stations to their absolute limit. In Belgium, electricity prices hit record highs as grids maxed out trying to keep buildings cool, happening precisely when those French nuclear plants had to go offline. Our built environment relies on a stable, predictable temperature range. Once we cross that line, the very energy systems we depend on to cool ourselves down can actually accelerate the collapse of the grid. This is a field of European corn during the early summer of 2026. The extreme heat hit right during the critical silking phase, the brief window when the plant pollinates. The intense temperatures baked the crops in the dirt, completely destroying the harvest cycle. A domestic crop failure of this scale creates immediate economic shockwaves. Without enough local grain, Europe was forced to scramble for massive, unexpected global imports just to fill the sudden void in their food supply. At the same time, Italy's Po River faced an ecological collapse. The river's flow dropped to a mere fraction of its normal volume, creating a shallow, superheated environment that wiped out local marine life and brought commercial shipping to a standstill. The combination of dry soil and record heat also turned the landscape into a tinderbox. Uncontrollable wildfires broke out across the continent, including highly dangerous blazes in German forests that were still contaminated with unexploded munitions from World War II. Containing a threat this large required a militarized, multinational response. The European Union had to mobilize a record-breaking fleet of 22 firefighting aircraft and strategically deploy nearly 800 firefighters across the hardest-hit zones. Extreme heat transforms the natural environment into an active economic and physical threat, forcing governments to drain their international resources just to fight constant ecological fires. This animated timeline tracks excess mortality across Europe during the late June heatwave. As the high temperatures persisted, health authorities recorded over 1,400 excess deaths in a matter of days. To survive extreme daytime exposure, human biology requires a drop in temperature at night. The body needs that cooler period to lower its core temperature and recover. But as this line graph shows, June's nighttime temperatures completely failed to dip into the safe biological recovery zone. Take Vienna, for example. The city recorded a staggering nighttime low of 27.3 degrees Celsius, about 81 degrees Fahrenheit. Without that thermal reset, the body's natural defenses rapidly break down. The immediate medical consequences were devastating. Hospitals saw a 4-fold increase in emergency room visits for heat-related illnesses, and major cities like Paris reported a massive surge in mass cardiac arrests. The sheer volume of patients forced national governments to issue emergency health alerts, mobilizing reserve medical staff just to triage the incoming casualties. Human biology has a hard thermal limit. When the environment denies the body a chance to cool down, the resulting wave of mass casualties inevitably pushes the medical system itself to the point of collapse. The 2026 heat wave served as a permanent stress test. It demonstrated that when temperatures stay this high for this long, individual air conditioning units are not enough to save a poorly designed society. The WHO Heat Health Action Plan provides a framework to survive thermal failures. First, cross-sector governance. Health and infrastructure operators must unify. This enables early warning systems to trigger interventions like deploying medical reserves before hospitals fill up. Long-term, the plan calls for a total rethinking of the built environment. Cities must proactively build green and blue spaces, using vegetation and water, to lower temperatures in urban centers before the heat arrives. Ultimately, the 2026 collapse showed that public safety is a matter of design. We have to coordinate the adaptation of our roads, our farms, and our hospitals together before the next wave hits.